Explicit Cursor Attributes and Loops. In this section, we are going to discuss explicit cursor attributes and how loops are used with the cursor. In the sample program, we have selected only a single row for a cursor. Here we will see how to fetch a set of rows and manipulate them with the use of loops. There are 4 attributes associated with the cursor. They are isOpen, found, not found, row count. Now we will see the syntax to use a cursor attribute. Cursor name percentage attribute. Here, cursor name specifies the name of the cursor, and a percentage symbol is used with the attributes. Now we will see in detail each cursor attribute. isOpen. This attribute is used to check whether the cursor is already open or not. This attribute will return the value true if a cursor is open. Otherwise, it returns false. Found. This attribute will return true when a record was fetched from the table, and it returns false when the record was not fetched from the table. If the cursor is not opened or is already closed, then the value is returned as an invalid cursor. Not found. This attribute will return true when there is no record to fetch. It returns false when the record was fetched successfully. If a cursor is not opened or is already closed, the value will return as invalid cursor. Row count. This attribute is used to return the total number of rows fetched by the cursor. It also returns the value invalid cursor when the cursor was not opened or was already closed. Now we will see how to use these attributes in a program. Take a look at this program. In this program, we have created a cursor with the name C1 by selecting rows from the table details. In the executable section, we used our cursor attributes to find the details of a cursor. Here we have used cursor attributes isOpen, found, and row count in our program. And finally, we have closed our cursor. Let's execute this program. As a result of this execution, the program displays the total number of rows. In this section, we have discussed different cursor attributes. In the next section, we'll discuss how to use loops in a cursor. Here we will see how to use a simple loop in a cursor. Simple loop is used with the cursors to determine whether any rows are left out while fetching the rows. To determine the status of a cursor, cursor attributes need to be checked. We have already discussed these things in our previous lesson. Here I will show you a simple program which uses a loop. See this program. Here we have used a simple loop in our cursor to fetch the values. Here we have also used %NotFound attribute to check whether the rows are fetched from the cursor or not. Whenever an exit condition becomes true, the loop is terminated. Finally, the values are inserted into a new table. And finally, the loop and the cursor are closed. Here we used a simple loop in the PL SQL block. Now we are going to use the for loop in cursor. In this program, we did not use open and fetch commands. If we define a cursor in for loop, there is no need to use the commands open and fetch. Here, for loop will go to all the records in the cursor and add a value of 10 with all the totals and insert these rows into a new table named pass. In this lesson, we have discussed explicit cursor attributes and the usage of a loop in an explicit cursor. Next, we will see the implicit cursor